Hi, Kiki.
Hello, Vikram. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kiki, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Just gonna change my name here.
But you're before time.
Let's see here.
But
Oh,
we've
good.
gone,
It's
yeah.
external. Okay, good.
But Kiki, we've gone live online now. Although you are before time, now we started before time.
I'm sorry?
We started before time. We're live on YouTube right now. So I'm
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
well, the whole idea is that it's an informal conversation. Whenever the person walks in, that's the time it starts.
All right. Let's
How are you?
go.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. I have been up a very long time and have had a good morning so far. So, and let me ask, how are you? I know that things in India are
Thank
really challenging right now with the virus, and there's a lot of suffering happening.
I know you hear some very bad stories happening. And for me, maybe it's like wearing blinders and living life, but I am actually not reading the news. But you do get these messages of people that you know and the issues that they're facing. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't know. Look, I don't know whether you can blame anyone. It's just that it is a pandemic. No one can be prepared for a pandemic for sure.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I understand being conservative with your news consumption, and because
Well,
it can really begin to affect your state of mind and your outlook, not only on the world but on your own life. So I think
yeah,
that's being judicious is wise,
yeah,
um, and
yeah, yeah.
doing what you can for others. I think that the pandemic has really revealed the holes in in our systems. And here in the U.S., we have, we last year was really bad on a lot of different fronts, but we see the holes in our medical system, not only in regards to, we weren't prepared for this pandemic, but also that treatment is not equal.
Yeah. I think that aspect of, first of all, the general disparity of income in the world, and then when it comes down to healthcare, which is definitely an issue. It's going to be an issue for a lot of. I mean, for us, I think it's going to be an issue for quite some time. It's not
Yeah,
something which is going to get solved immediately. But the worst part, I'll tell you, the worst part that came out from this was the way some people started taking advantage of the situation. I mean, here we're not talking about the. I mean, okay, government, you can keep blaming. These are individuals who are selling oxygen at 20 times the price.
oh,
I mean, they're selling fake medicines. It tells you about
oh boy,
human nature. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, are you really human, first of all? Are you really human to take
yeah.
advantage of someone who's dying and you tell them, look, it's going to be 20 times the price or just get lost? So
That's
the worst of, yeah.
the worst. It brings out the worst. And I start to wonder, like, what kind of survival mode is that person in, and what we say, what happened to that person, what happened to that person in their lives to lead them to do something like
I'll
that.
tell you, I mean, what I started thinking about it was from the perspective that this is an individual who's part of a society. So, where have we gone wrong in developing a society where an individual needs to do this? So, this materialistic society that we've developed, the fact of money being that important that you have to accumulate wealth. Why are you accumulating wealth? What are the reasons for that? I mean, we have to get into those factors also. So that's why I don't go totally behind the individual. Yes, it is an issue. I'm not saying there's not, you can forgive an issue for an individual, but why is he doing it? We have to go further into that.
Yeah, why is he doing it? And I think about the class that I just taught this semester, and part of it is trauma-based, trauma-informed mediation, and the latter is focused on high conflict personalities. And one of the things that I'm not sure if it's in India right now, but we changed the question from what's wrong with you to what has happened to you.
Mhm.
And it kind of, I think it speaks to our job as mediators and conflict resolution and conflict navigation specialists. It changes our lens. I believe it focuses on, actually, I think it has a way of humanizing the person, because we begin to imagine that person as a child, and what happened in that child's life, and what happened, in the adolescence, and what even happened in early adulthood to cause these behaviors.
Yeah.
And it just really begins to shift your orientation. It doesn't mean that what they're doing is any less wrong. I just think it, especially when we're in the middle of we're trying to mediate a conflict, instead of going, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this person? Why can't they seem to process anything? Why are they doing this? Because, as mediators, it's, these things run through our mind. We have the duty in Florida, as mediators, to be impartial. We have to appear impartial. But as we know, the way that the brain works, is there impartiality? And so I think shifting that perspective, I know for me has helped.
Yeah. No, I think you need to do that. I think you need to do that because, like I said, there's so many factors working around an individual to just pinpoint on one action and say, okay, I'll isolate this action and then I'll only start questioning this action and start looking at it. You will never get the entire picture. So I think we need to be able to take the larger picture in, and not, of course, the biases should not come in. All those things should not come into your mind, and just take it objectively. And also think of that person being part of a much larger, he's part of a society, he's part of a lot of other things, and where does he fit in, what comes from there. A lot of factors are playing in an individual's life.
Right. So that's part of a larger system,
Yeah.
part of a larger society. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because it's very easy to actually pinpoint things on an individual and say, okay, that individual is like that, because you don't want to question society which you are part of, because you think that you from your side are the best and everyone else is the worst, and not realizing that you are part of the problem. You might not be the problem, but you're part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
tell me something. But okay, but now you this is what? How early is it now? It's 8 o'clock. What time is it?
It is 8:01.
Okay, so you're a early riser. That's what you are.
I am, largely. I do my best thinking in the morning, and so I was delighted that you said, "Hey, how about 5:30 IST?" I was like, "That works for me. That works for me."
But that means you've gone through your yoga round. Yoga's done.
I'm
Yoga
sorry.
yoga for the day is done.
Um, I did. I think if I'm hearing you correctly, I did yoga in the morning. I meditated this morning and did my yoga, and sometimes I do yoga in the sleepy time of the day around 3 p.m.
Wow. Okay. No,
Yeah.
I think that's a very good thing. This yoga, I think, is something that, of course, we say that India has given it to the world. Whoever's given it to the world, but it should be practiced. I think it's a
Yeah,
excellent thing.
and I think about the debt of gratitude we have to India for giving us so much. Uh, I think about my whole life trajectory and what it would have looked like had those practices never been brought to the U.S. by folks like BKS Iyengar and Pattabhi Joyce and all the other wonderful teachers. And this is the thing. I trained at a traditional place that actually had been an ashram. The guru was Swami Kripalu, and Amrit Desai was from India, and so it was ensconced, it was entrenched in traditional philosophy. And then I kind of see what has happened in the last 25 years to the practice in the United States. And it's kind of comical if you think about it. What leave it to America to make yoga sexy.
Okay. Okay, maybe they had to market it that way. That was the only way they could get it out, maybe.
I'm thinking this is the only way we're going to get some type A personalities into this class. First, we got to focus on the clothing and got to make it look good. And then we've got to, play some, pop music and make the yoga instructors real buff. But nevertheless, there has been kind of a backlash here in regards to that. And there's a wonderful association called Yoga International, and they have been around for many, many years and are very much about the traditions and have put forth body positive messaging and a whole array of different traditions, and have classes focusing on philosophy, and they have brought teachers in from India to showcase their talents. And so one step at a time. But there's hope in Yoga International.
No, I think the way I look at it is that there are so many things that we are brought up with, the kinds of conversations you hear, and a lot of maybe, let's not say knowledge as such, but just basics of going about life, which I think by themselves are something which, when people other parts of the world hear, by themselves, those are good things to hear, and they actually, whatever you imbibe, you do, but I think that itself, just the basics are good enough to a lot of parts of the world, because maybe those societies have developed in a very individualistic manner, and their whole outlook is like that. So this aspect does, in some way, clicks with people quite easily.
Right. And you bring up an interesting point about in the US, especially having developed in an individualistic way. We're not a collectivist society. We don't, there are those of us who do think about the whole and how are our actions going to affect the collective. And when we make decisions, we base our decisions on those that will affect the collective good. So there are certain of us who have that, but then there's this pervasive individualistic tendency that I find off-putting. And so I tend to think that those of us who have more of a collective tendency in the United States are more like outliers. But then I think about the wonderful demographic shifts that we see happening in the United States. We have many people from around the world who do come from collectivist cultures. And I love to see the fact that there's more of an emphasis on family, and then that there are family units who are living together. My dad bought the structure that I'm standing in because he wanted us all to live together, which is odd in the US,
Yeah.
And so at one point there were my parents and my sister and her husband and the kids and my grandmother all living here.
Very nice.
Yes. And so we're a little bit different, but I believe that that's another aspect of India that is so beautiful, that the whole is thought of when decisions are made.
But that is changing, Kiki. It's not the
is
same
it?
anymore. Yes, definitely.
Are we rubbing off on you?
Exactly. You have.
Oh, no.
Obviously, the kind of our kids watch the same movies that you watch, and those movies and those serials. They get, look, that also influences society. If you are programming something into their system when they're young, it is going to affect them. And then they hear a lot of things. Okay, this is the way they do it in America. That's like standard. This is the way they do it in America. Oh, come off it. Let's ask them first. Are they all right with it?
I'm sorry. Sorry about that. But you're so right about that, the early childhood programming, that those early messages that that move into the child's brain. And they say that by the age of 5, that biases and firmly entrenched stereotypes about gender and class are in there by the age of 5, at a time before children are really able to eschew certain ideas, push them away. And I can imagine that seeing all the different kinds of programming from the US would really, in some ways, I don't know, if you see this happening, but cause a little cognitive dissonance in the child. I'm seeing this from the US, and that you're maybe like familial conflict, right? This is the way we're doing this. And then you're like, but I saw on,
Exactly.
this show that, this is the way that they're doing it. So why can't we?
Exactly. So that's how do you explain to them that why don't you check with them that are they looking at it differently now? Because look, I'll tell you what we see, or you would also notice that what Hollywood sends out is a different world sending out a signal message between themselves. They've decided what the message is, but across the country, it's not going to be the same. People have different thought processes. They are going to be different. So why don't we look at that part? We don't get to look at that part, which we know any country. I think India also. What you know of India is what you see wherever you whatever programming that you see on India. There is a whole country there, which obviously I also haven't seen. I mean, 1.3 billion people. To be able to say that there is a generalization there, I think it's wrong. For us to do it for the US, or anyone else to do it about India, I think we go wrong there. The quick generalizations we want to do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a diverse.
Generalizations are dangerous, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I think about like I'm a really big Bollywood fan.
Mhm.
And I think about I am it's goober. I'm a goober. I do. There is one of my favorite directors. I think his name is pronounced Ashutosh Gowarikar.
Go very good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
and
ahead.
and the messages in the films about who people are and what we're supposed to do and proceed. And I do have a funny story about that. There was a movie, and I can't remember if it was him who directed it, but it had a what we would refer to as an A list, one of the A list actors. She's been in a number of things, and it was a movie about her being in love with an actor, and her parents bringing her together with this very nice person who was a lawyer. And she was unable to let go of the actor. And so this wonderful man who she had actually married brought her to see the actor. And she figured out that this actor, was kind of a flake, and that the lawyer guy was the good one. And I'm going to tell you something really interesting about that. 2 weeks before I really noticed my husband in law school, I had watched that movie, and I said to myself, I'm going to find that guy. I'm going to find that lawyer. I'm going to find that good man, because I had like a long history of dating, the actor types. And I said, sure enough, I'm going to find him. And would you believe it? I did. And
Wow.
so that goes back to your point about the messaging. And oddly enough, this was a light Bollywood film, but it really impacted my life, because it gave me an archetype of a man that I don't think that I had seen in American programming.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And so, I just think that goes back to your idea about the power of messaging, and even back to the start of our conversation about the power of what is coming into our minds and how it's influencing really everything that's going on up here. So yeah, I had no idea that we would be able to loop back to that, but
Not
it's the
bad at all.
beauty of this talk.
Exactly. That's the way that's supposed to be. No, but I'm just thinking that so much influence. I mean, you can actually look at things from a different perspective just by watching a movie. It can change the way you think of things. It's amazing how strong. I'll tell you one thing that I've always had a problem with, which is Hollywood and of course Bollywood has also reached that level, is the fact that the way alcohol has been promoted in movies right from the time of those black and white movies, as if it was something that is, you have to do it at every point of time, every step there has to be some alcohol involved. And that programming is something which is so it's like it goes into the subconscious somewhere maybe. So that I think is an issue.
I think so too. It creates a destructive norm. And
Yeah.
I was, we see it. In fact, I'm going to tell a story about that because this happened to me while I was watching. It was a an Acorn production out of New Zealand that I was watching the other day. And it was a murder mystery, but it was like one of the benign murder mysteries, like Agatha Christie, with the light murder. And it took place at a winery, and they were drinking what looked like the most beautiful Chardonnay.
Mhm.
And Vikram, I was at the Target the next day in the Chardonnay section. And I was like, I gotta get myself some Chardonnay. And
Wow. Yeah.
and so it brings up a very, very important point about those kinds of destructive behaviors that we're creating norms for in in movies. And in fact, I had just had a conversation with my legal studies students about the prevalence of alcohol abuse in the lawyer community here.
Mhm.
21 to 36% of lawyers qualify as problem drinkers in the United States. And so, yeah, I mean, I have the occasional drink, but you bring up a great point. What other things are you seeing in film that?
Look, I'm actually someone who doesn't really watch too much movies. So many movies for
Okay.
me, I would rather have conversations with people. I actually do more of that. I have actually, that's what I've done throughout. I've learned from people. I don't read books. I just have, so the people teach you so much because they've read so much, they've seen so much, and in that conversation, you're picking up the essence of their life. And
Right.
that's so I don't watch too many movies, but I actually have these issues when I watch movies because I'm looking at something totally different. I'm looking at the messaging that's going out. Everyone is looking at the plot maybe. I'm looking at these messages which are going out, and I really feel that how have they done this for years, that it has gone into people's psyche, that celebrations have to happen with a champagne bottle opening. That is what a celebration means. So, and I mean, that's one example. The other is how a ring, a diamond, is going to, that love is to be expressed with a diamond. I mean, these are messaging which is
Yes.
going out, which is what people pick up, and they have to do it then.
It's so very true. And I if you're not of the mindset that I'm going to do it my way, you're very, very affected. By the way, what you're seeing in the background is
Okay.
the sun coming through the window. Just for anybody who's watching, is like, what is going on with the lighting in there? The sun's coming. The
It's
sun's
very
coming
nice. At least you're getting the sun.
up. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Those things that create, I think, issues in our lives if we don't get them. We think, weddings have to be a certain way. The
Yes.
diamond has to be
Yes.
there.
Yes.
My career has to look a certain way. And I think that, I don't know about in India, but I think that what I've seen in the US is that those kinds of expectations not only cause conflict, because not everybody can afford a massive wedding and a diamond and a house, let alone a fancy car and all those things. But I think that they begin to cause shame in those
Absolutely.
who can't have those things, and feelings of less than, and maybe some depression. And who am I if I can if I can't own a home?
Exactly.
Who?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've put out something. So you put something out, and this is the standard. This is what you have to be. If you're not this, there is an issue with you somewhere. So there is a lot of pressure on people like that. I mean, this is something which, and you can't do anything about it because that's the way an industry is functioning. And the messaging that they put out goes around the world. I mean, imagine what the audience that you have, the kind of audience that you have. And I mean, you can actually influence society. You can actually
Oh,
influence society with that messaging.
absolutely. I think that our society is continually influenced by the messaging, not only in movies, but in commercials,
Yeah.
overall programming. One of the things that I've noticed here in the US, and it could be just that because we don't actually have cable. We have like a what they call a Roku box. I don't know if you guys have those
No.
there, but the Roku box allows us to have access to streaming channels, and
We have that. Yeah.
that's how you become a junkie. It's
Yeah.
the entry drug into streaming addiction.
Mm.
And so we have commercials on certain of these platforms. And what I've been very happy to see is that they're showing different people. At one point in our programming, it was just a bunch of white people. I mean, how boring is that? And we're seeing brown and black people being featured in commercials, brown and black people, like doing things that you would only see traditionally, maybe even 20 years ago, white people being featured as doing. And I think about how destructive those messages were, and how those influenced society and influenced the minds of people, and how those messages created cognitive biases, which led to bad hiring decisions, which led to maybe black and brown people not getting mortgages and things like that. And so I talk about this stuff with my students in class, and I know these aren't always comfortable discussions. I talk freely about race,
Yeah.
so I hope I'm not
No, not at
offending
all. Not at
anyone.
all.
Um, but yeah, I it's interesting to me how in some ways, if you are a consumer of these commercials and movies and television shows, you're right. I go back to what you said about being judicious, and Vikram, I applaud you for not watching much and engaging in conversation, and hearing stories
Yeah.
right from a person's lips, instead of being so influenced by all of
Exactly.
that.
I'll tell you what, because with the individual, first of all, you have to. So, now I heard you speaking when you were with Fola. I heard you speaking. So, you identify this person is a good person and what their thoughts will be good thoughts. So, if you have a person like that, then definitely whatever their larger experiences in life and what they'll tell you about is actually going to be something which you will relate to, and you're on the kind of the same wavelength kind of thing. So it's not everyone. Same thing that I tell people about books also. Now, it is so easy for you to pick up a book. It's actually you've got a person into your house which you know nothing about. What is that person going to tell you? How it's going to influence you? You have no idea. You've just got a stranger into your house and into your mind. The worst part is into your mind. So you have to be very careful who's giving you what they're giving you. So with an individual, you can gauge at any point of time, and you can say, okay, no, this is not the kind of person that I want to talk to, and you can walk off. But with that book, you don't know what's going to happen. You're into the book, and you're getting messaging, subtle messaging is going there somewhere inside. So there's a lot of factors of messaging that you get through, and you have to be careful. That's,
Absolutely. I love that what you said about inviting people into your house. We've got a lot. I'm a book junkie. And so I've got a lot of people living here that I did not interview prior to bringing home. And
exactly.
and so yeah, and I think that that's where being judicious about what you believe and what you absorb and what you really want to take in. Is this good for me? Is it not? Is it going to be a fit? And I love books. I think that there's so much knowledge to be gained, and I've benefited from my privilege of being able to have books from the time I was a little girl. And having said that, I will tell you that there have been certain things that have come into my sphere that I have accepted as truth, that later on, in my evolution as a person, I've just said, wow, I'm really surprised that I believed that at that time in my life. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
No, I did from the book example. The fact is that when you pick up a book, now at some point of time. because there's a cutoff when you have to publish a book. There's a cutoff that, okay, now the manuscript goes in for publishing. So there's a thought process up till that point. Even a minute later, thoughts change. I mean, the concept of life changes, everything changes. Now, the moment it's gone into publication, it's out there. You do not even know what the author thought about. Did the author change their mind? What did they? So now, if I'm talking to you, if you're telling me something, I can debate it with you, I can discuss it with you, and you might change your mind, or you might change my mind. It can happen that way. But it's a discussion happening. It's a two-way process. Now, imagine that only one person talks and the other person is just listening, and the person talks right now and has a conversation with me and has a certain thought process. Now you walk off from there, you have a conversation somewhere else, your whole thought has changed, so you'll have a different conversation there. I think this is it, what you just told me is it, but not realizing that you've gone there and changed everything. So it's individual to individual. I think that conversation, I like it, I like that better. And also the fact that, look, Kiki, you've read, I don't know, hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, you've read hundreds of books. Now the essence of those books is what you're going to give me. So why do I need to spend time reading hundreds of books? If I have even 10 people doing it for me, I have thousands of books I've read, because you can give me the essence of it. Because those are the things, important part, what you picked up from there, not whether you
Yeah.
went through the whole story.
Yeah. That's so true. I see that in the authors that I follow, and it's, you read the one book and then they experience an evolution,
Exactly.
and then the subsequent book has maybe something a little bit different, and something maybe is tweaked, and I'm thinking right now about one of my favorite authors by the name of Chris Voss, who was a former FBI hostage negotiator, and he wrote a book that I use him in one of my classes, and he now has a master class. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the master class program, but it's kind of fun. You get to hear the authors talk. And I know that when I go to watch that master class, there are going to be certain things that have changed. And so I'm thinking, okay, so I've been like teaching from this book
Exactly.
just from where he was at that point, as you
Yes.
said.
Yes.
And now, things are, absolutely, the mind just evolves. Our thoughts on these things evolve, the tools evolve. And yeah, it's so interesting. So I guess if the moral of that story is you got to keep up on things.
Exactly.
And if you're in academia like me, you've got to just stay, you have to like keep current,
Yeah.
because things are always going to
No,
change.
I'll tell you what happened with me, because I did not read books. Now I had my own theories of life, which those kept evolving. So I did not need another book, because when I picked up books, I mean, I would tell myself, I've already thought this through. I know, I mean, okay, I know what you're talking about, and I have maybe processed it further, and I have my theory on it. So in that sense, for me, okay, for people, maybe they're reading it, they might not have had time to think. Maybe I've had a lot of time to think in life. Maybe I gave
Right, right,
a
right.
thought to a lot of things. A lot of people might be involved in so many other things in their life. They don't. Everyone doesn't have time to think. To time to think is also a very important time, which no one ever thinks about. So
Not everybody does have time to
yeah,
think. I mean, like
exactly.
I'm like, sometimes I just don't understand how I got so lucky to be born into the world in the circumstances that I was born into.
You'll have to
You
tell us
know,
about
I
that.
mean,
You have to tell us about that. What were the circumstances? What were you born?
circumstances. Well, I was born in the late '60s to of course, my parents. My dad was back in the late '60s. Being college educated here in the United States was a big deal.
Mhm.
So he had a bachelor's. My mother was in college, and while their relationship was not perfect and at times volatile, which influenced the way that I developed, they were thoughtful. They were well spoken. They were highly intelligent, and in regards to the way that I developed, with good nutrition, with stable housing, with my educational needs being met, I was set up from the beginning for success. Did we have a lot of money? No, but my dad was a writer. We just didn't. I didn't have a lot of the things that the other kids did, but I did have books, and I did have, my dad was a writer, of course, so I learned how to write from a very young age, and so all of those little things really, you know, brought me to where I am now. And was it perfect? No.
So yeah,
Um, and I say that I fell into mediation because my household was full of conflict, and I wanted to understand it. And I wanted to understand why I was the way I was when faced with conflict. And so, but in regards to being set up for success, I would have to say that I'm in like the top 5% of people on the planet who was, I never lose sight of the fact of how very fortunate I am. And
yeah, let's make it 1%. Let's not make it 5%, 1%.
1%, yeah,
Yeah, must
top
be
1%.
1%. Yeah.
I'm not wealthy. I'm really, I don't,
That's
go
what you
from
think. That's what you think. You're wealthy enough. You're wealthy enough.
wealthy, and yeah, I have enough. And
Exactly.
I mean, my bachelor's degree is in art. I was an artist for a number of years and a yoga instructor back, started my path in yoga in the mid 90s. And I was living hand to mouth. I was living in like little one room places, with no central heat and air. And so, but I was so very happy,
Exactly. That's
um,
what. So,
and felt so very privileged to be able to have a trajectory in my life, and do the trainings that I was doing. So, I know what it is to have, like $3 in your checking account and not really know where the next paycheck's going to come from. Right now, I'm good because I've got a 1 year contract at a university. I don't know what's going to happen next year,
yeah.
but I've got generational wealth, and so that's something else to think about. I've got like my parent. I live in my parents' house. How many people have the privilege of having that?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, the fact is that this is something that you have to appreciate and value. And
yeah,
sometimes we stop valuing what we have, and then you look at other people or whatever, and you maybe just yourself put yourself into a negative mindset when you could be in the same circumstance with the most positive mindset. It's
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think about that, and I think about how, um, it really is all in perception.
yeah,
And it's not always easy when you're suffering, maybe when you don't have medical care, when you have substandard housing, when you don't have clean water to drink. I mean, those kinds of things can really they affect your whole outlook. They affect the way that you perceive life. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like people in the US who are very spoiled,
yeah.
and who are constantly seeking to have more and more and more. And I think that that's one of the reasons that we have, such, our lifestyles are not sustainable for the planet.
Yeah.
Our lifestyles may not even be sustainable for our incomes or what's to come. So, yeah,
But Kiki, we'll have to go back to the conversation we were having earlier. That the fact is you can't even blame people because the programming that has been given to them, and that's the way they have to be because that's the way they've been told that you have to be. So you can't. I mean, it's a matter of just thinking that this is the way to live. And how do you decide what is the way to live? It's because someone else tells you what to do, and this is the way it has to be. Gives you an image, like you said, a house. Okay, you have to have a house, and then it has to be this kind, and I have to have those vacations, and I have to have these clothes. All that is being programmed into you. It's not something that something is not that when you were born this was the way it had to be, because obviously when you go out of the US and you maybe come to India and you see the streets of India and you see people in certain condition, you'll say that is also life. People are living like that. And are they happy or not? I see a lot of happy kids on the street. I see them happy also. It's not that it's, I mean, happiness is something which obviously is not going to be connected to materialism ever. We can keep
hmm
telling ourselves that, okay, now if I have that car, it's going to be happiness. I was talking to someone about this. There's one particular business group I mean, which has gone really finished. They finished like kind of a bankrupt kind of situation. But the fact was that they picked up a lot of money to develop a township, and they, of course, did not build the township, but they siphoned out the money. So I was just talking to someone. They had huge amounts of wealth. They had, I mean, you cannot imagine how much money they had picked up. And if they'd done their whole township, also they would have had lots of money. So I was just talking to someone about this. This guy was telling me, and we discussed this, that look, when you compare cars, okay, this car, I mean, you can have a car, so for 500,000, you can have a car for 50,000. So there's a comparison happening between people. In this case, the comparison was happening on the private jets that they had, that whether it's going to be a 5-seater or a 7-seater or a 12-seater, I mean, there is no end to it. And again, the same thing, I would say, can you blame the person? He lives in a certain society
That's
where
so
that pressures are
true.
put on him. You are not happy because obviously the other guy got a 5-seater. I have to get a 7-seater. And you're talking about private jets. You're not talking about cars anymore. So that comparison never ends and can
That's
never.
so true. And you circled back to a really important point, and one that I'm really happy that you brought up, because I was falling into judgment. And you're right. It is programming in whatever bubble you're riding around in.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I saw that a lot in when I practiced family law, which is in the States. Family law refers to things like divorce and other associated actions. And there were people who were making modest incomes, who were always happy, and they were the best clients to work with, because I worked really hard, I tried my best for them, and they were generally happy with what the outcome was. And but then there were those who had a certain standard of living, and I think it's almost so hard for the wealthier people to go through that, because when you break a household into two parts, obviously something's gonna have to give. And I take a look at the numbers on their financials, and I think, how on earth could they ever be sad or panicked when they have this much, and yet they still did.
Yeah.
And so, Vikram, you bring up a really good point, and one that I believe is crucial for us to continue in mediating, in representing our clients, with compassion, knowing that they are just products of where they came from. They're products of their programming, and they're
Yeah.
products of their bubble. And
Exactly.
so, yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Because by being judgmental, I think we're actually not being fair on them, because that's what they come from, whatever
Mhm.
be the situation. So I think that part of it definitely. But I think we've gone, Kiki, a little too serious, haven't we? Tell me more about Florida, because look, for me as a golfer, I feel Florida is the place to retire for golfers. When I hear
Oh
about
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you don't mind mosquitoes and stuff, it's really
oh,
we have so many golf courses. I live in Central Florida. I actually moved to Florida because my father got a job at Walt Disney World. He worked for
wow.
Mickey,
Wow.
and so from the time I was 14 years old, through the present, I go to Disney. It's my home. It's my second home. Um, I I I go there for free. I'll just say it,
No
because
wonder you
my
look so happy. You always look happy.
yes, yes. So Disney has infused my whole being.
Someone who,
And
yeah.
Disney has some beautiful golf courses. And in fact, my dad, who has since unfortunately passed, was instrumental in developing the Disney Golf Championship. And so he was the guy, and he wrote the book that I'm not sure if Disney still publishes it, but it was a published book on the Disney golf history. So yeah, he was a big part of that. But yeah, our courses here are beautiful. It needs to rain right now. We're kind of in the middle of a little drought, but surely you would find any kind of course that you want here.
Yeah, because I see when I hear about these retirement communities, I mean, one community has, I don't know, 50 golf courses or whatever. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, our whole country has about 300 golf courses. Out of the only about 150 are private golf courses. And imagine one community having that many. I think that is the place to be for a golfer to retire. That's the place to be.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. There are just so. I mean, I can think of just in my mind how many golf courses are within a 10-mile proximity of where I'm standing right now, and I start thinking about it. It's just like, oh my gosh, we really do have, and some of them are private, some of them are. You have to live in the community in order to be able to golf there. But then there are others that allow the public in, and they're very reasonable. Of course, we've got so many that it's they have deals.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the numbers that you have is amazing. It's golf world. You didn't take to golf, but did you?
Do I golf?
Yeah, did you? You didn't take to it at
No,
all?
no. Although I did, so like 5 miles that way, there's the Orange County National Golf Course, and my friend was learning how to be a golf trainer, and so my husband was a lifetime golfer, and so we went and they put me on the green screen, and they had me do a swing, and they just gave me like a 5-minute tutorial, and they said I had a textbook perfect golf swing,
Perfect.
but I don't golf. It's even that the position is just hard on my back, but my husband AJ is he's been golfing since he was like a teenager, so
Yeah.
I can ride around on the cart.
You'll take to it maybe later. You maybe at some stage you'll take to it because there's something so nice about just walking on a golf course. It's, I mean, I would obviously tell everyone to do it, but definitely everyone cannot do it. There are other things they have to do. But
Right,
but,
right.
but
Being out there and getting to walk. I like tennis. I do enjoy tennis, and I do just enjoy. We live in Central Florida is an interesting area for those of your viewers who are not familiar with it. We're actually right in the center of the state, so it's really great if a hurricane's coming because we're just in the center where we've got a little bit of a buffer, but it is very, it's not beachy at all. We've got like big oak trees, and in this little area that I live in, it's very traditionally Southern. We've retained all the dirt roads. We have dirt roads and very old buildings. In fact, the houses that I'm surrounded by are over 100 years old. And so it's a historic area. And so it's just a really lovely place to be able to just walk through and enjoy nature. And so going back to your idea about being out on that course, just maybe just the quiet and being in nature. So very beautiful.
but what about your husband? What does he do?
My husband, he's an attorney as well. And he's also a mediator.
Okay.
Yeah. We met in law school.
Very nice. But otherwise, I mean, but you're working from home. Everyone's working from home now, or is it? Are you?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, he decided to leave his firm that he was working for, and well, back in March we all started working from home. Back in March of last year, and so he decided in January of this year to start his own firm, and so he has Leapfrog. It's called Leapfrog Divorce, and he is virtual, and we work side by side here
Very
in what we
nice.
call the big room.
Mhm.
And it works very well. The courts are largely still virtual. The hearings are largely still over, some sort of virtual platform.
That's,
And
but that's ideal. Ideal that you get time to spend with each other, also get your work done also. But am I going to say hi to him? Is he around or?
yeah, I can get him.
Yeah, I
You
should
want
get him. Exactly. What's his name?
AJ?
Oh, that's
AJ.
his name. That's his name.
AJ. His full name is Arthur John,
Okay.
but that was never a good fit for him. So he's been AJ since he's been a little kid. And it is wonderful getting to work side by side with him. We met the first week in law school, and so we were part of the same section. And so we went through the whole first year. We actually had a band in law school. He's a musician as well, and I write songs. And so
Wow.
we
So now today we're gonna have one big party. We're gonna have some music and some singing. Please, tell me, what does he play? What he plays the guitar?
he plays the guitar.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. He's a
So
guitar player. He also produces music. In fact, when we were in a networking group, one of the people in the networking group was part of an advertising agency that was not based in Brazil, but the owners were from Brazil. And they said, "Hey, we got a gig for a sandal company and we need some music." And I had written kind of a bossa nova tune with some lyrics. And I said to the owner, I said, "Raphael, do you want some music for that sandal commercial?" And he said, "Yeah, can you have it to me by Monday?" And so I get home and I'm like, "AJ, we have to produce 30 seconds of music by Monday for a Brazilian sandal commercial." And so we did it. So those kinds of fun things happen. Truly, we're artists at heart. And
excellent. So we need AJ and the guitar.
I'm sorry?
We want AJ and the guitar, both. Both of them have
Yes.
to come here.
Oh, AJ and the guitar.
Yes.
I don't know if he's camera ready, Vikram.
It's
It's only
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
8:44. And so
He's with friends. It's not a problem. It's not an issue.
would you like me to get him?
Why not? Okay,
Okay.
tell him to get camera ready. He can come in 15 minutes if he
Okay.
wants to.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Please hold.
Yeah, holding.
And we're back.
Yes. So what does AJ say?
He said, "Yeah."
Good.
He
Good.
said, "Yeah." So he's gonna be joining us in about probably he's gonna throw himself together.
Good. Well, I should have known. I should have called him earlier only. It's nice to have, like, I have had two people on the show and I say two minds are better than one. That's the
Oh
way I put
yeah,
it across.
yeah, definitely, definitely. He is gonna have some. This is Tulsi tea, another gift from India.
Wow. It's supposed to be very, very good. We also,
Tulsi.
but you have a plant there? You,
I'm sorry.
you have a Tulsi plant at home?
No, 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 no. I just buy this in bulk from the Organic India company.
So when you grow one? You grow one
I
Tulsi
didn't
plant?
know that you could, that's hilarious. I'm like, well, it does come from a plant. I don't believe that I have ever seen a Tulsi plant here. And I'm a plant person. We go to some big nurseries. I don't think I've seen one.
No, you must get that. You must get. It's supposed to be very good to have it in the house, and definitely with your just put fresh tulsi in your tea. Not difficult
Yeah,
at all. Not difficult at all.
that would be very, very fun. I could grow a field of Tulsi.
Yeah.
And then I would probably then the US ag people would come in like, this is an invasive species.
Exactly. Maybe.
Not supposed to be here. We have a lot of invasive species here in Florida. I think it's because we have boats and things from so many places, and we actually when a hurricane blows through, we get spores from plants from the Caribbean and all sorts of interesting stuff. But if you like nature, this is a good place to come.
Yeah.
We have
But
alligators.
that's not okay. That's one that we can avoid.
Yeah, we've got this huge lake. It's just a 5-minute walk, and it's if you look at the map of Florida, it's right in the center, and it's actually, I think, the biggest lake right in the center of the state, and it is full of alligators, and it is mating season right now. So if you go stand out on the dock, you are going to see some massive alligators. It's not a swimming lake.
Okay, definitely not. Definitely not.
Not, no, not the kind of, but it's very interesting viewing.
Must be, must be. Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. I think in terms of wildlife, I think certain things that you get used to, for us, it'll be shocking to even see such a situation around us. Maybe you see these alligators hanging around, and sometimes I've seen these. Sometimes these golf championships, you suddenly have an alligator coming onto the course, and these guys are quite cool with it,
Yeah.
picking up their tail, and the guy runs off. It's like
You don't want to do that.
I've
They do
seen them
kill
do. Yeah,
people. They
but I've
do.
seen them do that. Some golfers do that. I've seen that those shots.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
have,
it is an interesting thing. I grew up partially here, so I moved here when I was 14. But my formative years were in both Michigan and Pennsylvania, and way north.
mm,
And we don't have anything like that. And the lakes there were beautiful and clear, and there was nothing in there that could kill you. And then when I moved here, and learned that the lakes have things in it that can like eat you. um, I thought, well, no more swimming in these lakes. But yeah, for those who grew up here, yeah, I mean they're fearless. They're just
exactly.
absolutely fearless. They won't bother you.
Exactly. I mean,
Um,
it's just the way it is. I mean, right from childhood, if there is something that you are not afraid of, it just doesn't, I mean, it's not something that you even think about. And for a
yeah.
person from somewhere else looks at it and say, "Whoa!" I mean, those big lizards. Certain places have those big lizards. For a
Oh
person who
yeah.
hasn't seen those big lizards around, it's very
Yeah, the
shocked.
iguanas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got those. They're not indigenous to here. They were, I think they hitchhiked on a boat from the Caribbean. And so we in South Florida we have the big iguanas.
Must be quite a sight. If I
It
mean,
is. I was down at this hotel down in Miami, and it was for one of AJ's trainings. He was doing a trial training, and it was a Ritz. I'm not used to. I'm middle class American. Usually stay in a Holiday Inn, but it was a fancy hotel for me. And what was so funny about it was that those iguanas would just have the run of the land.
yeah.
And I was at the pool, and I was in the pool, and all of a sudden I see this massive Vikram. This thing was like, he was like this
Wow.
big, and he's just going up to the side of the pool, and they swim, and they're fast swimmers. And I'm just thinking,
If he comes in, you're gone.
I really don't want to be in the pool with this thing. So,
Definitely not.
how you run in the water. I was just kind of like running in the water, trying to just get out, just in the event that he jumped in. But they're not going to attack you. Their tail can hurt you pretty badly. But if they get scared, and they do their tail. But
Yeah,
um,
the point is, at that point of time, that logic doesn't work. You see a thing like that around you, people might say, "No, no, it's not an issue. It won't say anything." It's not. It's not something that you can even think about. You see such a big lizard around you.
Yep. Yeah. I think with time you do get used to certain things. Like,
Yeah.
they talk about like Florida in general with the bugs. We've got a lot of bugs, and we have these little lizards here.
Hmm.
I don't know if you have little
Yeah,
lizards
yeah.
there, but
We
we've
have
got
we have those. We have those. Yeah.
we've got like little lizards, and our yard is set up so that we've got like little habitats, and we actually have a black racer snake that
Wow.
lives in our some landscaping, and they're benign. They kill pests, and so this black racer snake is just part of our family. And we'll just see him go across the pathway. In fact, once I was out on the path, and he just slid across my feet and into the, and so he's just our friend. And the little lizards sometimes get inside, and you can't catch them, and so they just kind of become part of
Yeah.
our.
I have one somewhere here. Keeps walking around sometimes, and you can't do anything about it. And whatever. I mean, the fact is that look, they are creepy for people. They are, and the point is that all my life, definitely, I've never seen a lizard attacking any person. Those small lizards, you know that they don't attack you. But I think people, that logic is one thing, and to see a creepy thing is a different thing. So you cannot just get used to a creepy thing hanging around. I think that's what it is.
So it's really, really, it's so true. And I just love how we keep going back to that, what's normative for you and what you accept is just, maybe just totally not normative for another person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Such a beautiful thing to come back to when we're talking about life in general and in our relationships with people and
Yeah,
having an open mind
absolutely.
about where people's perspectives.
Totally. Yeah. At every point of time, I think you just have to be open. I mean, put anything in a box, anything, relationships or people or places. There is no box. Things are so fluid and flexible. To even put it into something and then say this is it, I think shouldn't do it
Yeah.
with anyone. I mean, even when you meet people, I mean, a lot of people start off with some basic, like where they come from and what their name might be. All those things are working in the mind. Best is not to have that knowledge. You don't know anything. I don't know anything about anyone. For me, it's starting off with a blank slate. And then you paint as you go along, and you're having conversations, you paint as you go along. You don't have anything at all, no path already made. That's why I love these conversations. That's, I actually, I mean, like, I would not even read about, okay, I've seen your LinkedIn profile, but I don't want that. It has to come from when we have the conversation. Because I've seen a lot of times people have a little conversation before a show or something. Okay, let me just get to know the person, and then no, it has to start from right there. Like I said, when you walked in, the live thing had to go right there. It's not that we'll have a conversation. Okay, let's talk about this. We'll talk about that. It has to be unscripted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the
So
enjoyable part. Yeah.
beautiful things happen when conversations are unscripted.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a planner like me, it is a challenge. I am used to thinking on my feet when I get those questions in class and have to answer things that I didn't expect to be questions on. But yeah, I think that some beautiful things can begin to happen when we allow ideas to flow
Yeah.
and yeah, it's absolutely
Yeah. Because
absolutely right.
yeah.
Listening,
Yeah. No,
like,
and the idea being that it is not a direction that you're trying to take a conversation into. It is going to go where it has to go organically. And that is the enjoyable part. I don't have a list of questions that I have to ask Kiki. No, I don't have anything. It can go anywhere. But from something that you said, like you told me, you said, spoke about your class. So let's get to know about Kiki's class. What is it like?
oh, my
Yeah.
classes. Okay. My classes are based in, I would have to say, what we refer to as like social emotional learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so people's voices, hey, AJ's here, people's
Yes.
voices are always heard.
Mm-hmm.
There's a free exchange of ideas. We use the principles for how we treat each other from Valencia College as a foundation.
Hi, AJ.
And
Hi, how are you?
AJ, where's your guitar? AJ and the guitar have to come.
Oh, I'm not ready.
AJ, for the guitar, you're always ready. How can you not be ready for the guitar? It just has to come in your hand and you're ready.
Well, it needs a decent set of strings. I'll say that.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
that's
was-
right. He's only got his electric set up right here, and his amps are over there. And I don't think the amp cord's
That's
long
not going to
enough.
work very
No, it's not going to work.
Wow,
But
that's sad
you got this mind, and this mind is also a beautiful mind.
yes,
Well, thank
interesting.
you.
Yes,
We're
yes.
just talking about my classes.
Oh, wonderful.
After
Yeah.
that, we're going to, after that, AJ, you're going to tell us about yourself also.
Oh, you want to hear about me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's see. Where do I begin? Well, short story about when I was younger. I grew up in a household with lawyers. My mom was a lawyer, and my dad had a law degree. He didn't practice, but he got his law degree to advance with his financial company that he was working for. And so growing up in a household where I heard the exchange of verbal argument and ideas, I always thought it was intriguing and interesting. And so I had always wanted to become a lawyer. And, life took me in different directions until I was presented with an opportunity by the universe to finally go to law school. And so I drove across the country from California to Florida, and that's where I met my beautiful wife, Kiki, and we finished law school and then went out to Pepperdine together and came back and took the bar and passed the bar and opened up our practice. And I've been practicing family law for, over a decade now.
Okay, AJ, that was the promo video. Now we have to go slowly. What were those different directions that life took you? That was the interesting part. Those are the interesting ones we ought to listen to.
Okay, well, let's see.
He wants the dirt.
Okay.
No, the good stuff. That's what makes AJ what he is. No, AJ, that's what makes AJ what he is. He loves AJ because of those things. Everything is part of him. If those weren't there, AJ wouldn't be the AJ he is.
That's very true. Okay, so my parents sacrificed a lot to send me to a private grade school. It was kindergarten through 8th grade. And it was very focused on the arts. So every year we put on multiple play performances. We did a lot of the classics. So I learned how to sing. I learned how to dance. I learned how to act. I had an after school.
You wore tights.
Some of my costumes involved tights, yes.
Perfect.
I learned how to paint with oil paints and mold clay. And so when I graduated, I really wanted to be some type of an artist, some type of an entertainer. I really had a creative spirit. And then I got involved in music, and that was furthering my creative spirit. And I remember talking to my dad about college. And I said, Dad, I think I'd really like to be an artist. And he said, you don't want to be a starving artist, do you? No, what you should do is you should go to business school, get your business degree, and then that will afford you opportunities to do whatever it is you want to do.
Is to talk about programming.
Yes,
right.
I was just going to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so since they were helping me pay for college, I didn't feel like I could say, no, that's not what I want to do. I really do want to be a starving artist. And so I got into a business program and finished that up, and then immediately went to work for a financial institution, New York Life Insurance Company. And I learned very quickly that beating the street and cold calling people, trying to get appointments to talk to them about life insurance was not the type of career I wanted. It wasn't a very good fit for my personality. And so I went to my general manager and I said, I'm not interested in this. I don't want to do it anymore. Thank you for the opportunity. And he said, our computer consultant is leaving. Would you be interested in working as a computer consultant, helping our agents? Well, I grew up with computers. I loved computers. I think I started working with my first one in 1978, maybe 1979. And I said, sure, sounds interesting. And so I did that, and I was a independent computer consultant, and I worked in the IT, information technology industry for, about 12 years, working with network systems and telephone voicemail systems, all kinds of things. And while it was interesting, it really didn't fulfill my desire for something more, something that used my brain and my intelligence a little bit more. And so I started looking at going to law school at that point. And then I shelved the law school idea, and I went to work for another small startup company, again in information technology, and then a third company, and then they went bankrupt. And so I found myself with a life opportunity. Well, what do I do now? I'm really tired of information technology. Company I was working for just went bankrupt. Do I want to do this? Is this the life opportunity that will bring me to law school? And then at the same time, my marital relationship was not doing well.
Not with me.
Yeah, no.
No, I can understand. Yes.
And so I ended up getting a divorce and then said, you know what, this is the life opportunity. And so I applied to law schools, and Florida Coastal here in Florida offered me a scholarship. And I said, wow, this is getting really easy to go to law school. I really have to follow this path. And so I packed everything up and drove from California to Florida, and I guess the rest is history.
So the point is that it was all destined. You had to come to law school, meet Kiki, and get married, and that was what it. All that was all about. That it was getting there. Otherwise, you would have never got here.
Absolutely, and I have no regrets about any of my experiences, because
Oh, no, that's
I
very
agree
good.
with you 100%. Every experience brought me to where I am
Exactly.
today, and I'm the happiest I have ever been in my life.
That's what I tell people. Look, if you're happy in the moment, everything else led to this. So why should you have any regret of what happened? If you did not go through that, you would not be what you are today. And so what matters
Absolutely.
is that in the present, if you're happy, everything else did fall into place at the right time, in the right place. I think ideal. But now,
Absolutely.
is creativity, are you getting a release of your creativity somewhere?
I am. So what I've found is that the practice of law, and specifically family law and working with people, really is more of an art than it is a science.
Yeah.
While I can know the technicalities of the law and the technicalities of how to conduct a trial in front of a judge, there really is more of an art in working with people with real problems, real emotions, and helping people navigate that kind of a situation, practically speaking, like, how do I pay my bills?
Yeah.
What am I going to do about my credit report? To, what is my family going to look like after divorce? We have children. What are we going to do? And so that affords me an opportunity to use my creativity. And as you know, I still play guitar and I still write music.
I don't know, AJ. AJ, I don't know. I don't know whether you play the guitar, whether you write music. I don't know. I want to know.
I got my drum down here.
Kiki was all ready. She's all ready to sing. She's going to sing. She's all ready to sing. She thought the guitar would be there and things are going to be nice.
Oh my!
You're
I'm sorry
backing
to
out.
disappoint.
No, you can't do that, AJ. But okay, now Kiki, but this is okay. We've gone through AJ, but what about the first year when you met? What was that all about?
Oh, that was funny. That was really funny because we were midlife career changers, both of us. So we were the old people in law school, and I met AJ the first week of law school in orientation, and they put us into sections. Like, so if you like Harry Potter, you know how everybody was in different houses,
Yeah.
Gryffindor and all that. So we were, I don't know what ours was. We were probably in Ravenclaw. We were in the scholarship section together. They did that on purpose to like weed us out. And so we'd have to compete with other, scholarship recipients. And I just always thought, this guy's like way too smart for me. And I remember being in contracts class and just thinking, oh my gosh, I called him Smart Arthur. And I just thought, Smart Arthur always has the answer. I was an art major in law school. I mean, art major yoga practitioner in law school. So I didn't know what was going on. It was a Legally Blonde moment. If you've ever seen that movie where I was just like, you know what? I think I'm going to go to law school. I had to look up what the entrance exam was in the yellow pages, which is like I had no idea what I was doing. And so what happened to bring us really together was I had started writing lyrics to popular tunes, making them about the law. Existence, for example, I wrote a song to the tune of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds,
Mm-hmm.
The Beatles song, and it was about a banana slip and fall case. And so those were the kinds of songs I was writing. And my contracts professor was also a bass player. And so I said to Professor Doukhopelnikoff, look, I've got all these songs written. She's like, we got to have a band. And so we got the band together, and AJ was one of the band members. And so that second semester, when we limped through civil procedure together, we were at the same table, commiserating in our misery. Going through civil procedure was bad. We also had the band to bring joy to our lives, and not only to our lives, but to the lives of our section, because we played the songs
Good
and
fun. That's
would
good fun.
get
Yeah,
up and
that's really
sing.
nice.
So that's kind of what brought us together. I think there are not many artists and musicians and actors and people of an artistic sensibility in law school. So what was so cool was that we all found each other.
Mhm.
And it really got me through. He got me through, because law school was really, I did well, but it was really hard for me.
Mhm.
And, gosh, it just clicked. After so many years, both of us had failed first marriages. And after so many years of like stupid relationships, finding a person who was that guy in that Bollywood film.
Yes, that's what you are, AJ. You're the guy from the Bollywood movie.
And the actor's name, the actual actor, his name is AJ.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who
I
played the
have to.
lawyer, his name was AJ.
I have to find out which movie this is. I have to find out.
Hum Dil De Chuka Sanam.
Hum dil de chuke sanam. Okay. Hum
Yes.
dil de chuke
Did
sanam.
I probably butchered it?
No, that's okay. I understood. Because I told you I don't watch too many movies, so what happened? I'm going to check this out.
So that was it. That was the movie. Yeah.
The nice
I won't
songs.
say
It has some
because I
nice
don't want to offend any Indian viewers.
No, but the songs were nice. They had good songs.
Oh yes. Yes. And it's a lot of and I love to watch those. I remember watching that with my niece, and we would dance. We would dance when they had the songs and the dance numbers.
Yeah, look, music is music. I mean, you enjoy music from wherever it comes. You might not understand what they say, but that music is what it is.
Oh yeah.
But have you managed to get AJ to watch some movies, Bollywood movies, AJ?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah?
we watched them together.
I think that I don't think you've seen Sfades or Lagan.
No.
But he has seen we own What's Your Rashi, which is just a delightful film. And you've seen a few others that
Pride and Prejudice.
Well, that's kind of quasi Bollywood. That's not really Bollywood. Bride and Prejudice.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, that's
But,
like
yeah, it's in London. It's not really, but it pays tribute to Bollywood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which means Kiki, now you have to, whenever you watch a nice Bollywood movie, please send me a message, because I don't end up watching them. There's so much choice these days. There's so much choice. Like, you don't end up watching anything because of that. You open Netflix, you have Prime, you have your other channels that we have here, the Indian ones. So much content. So instead, I've started creating content. Now this is my my channel. I keep saying, when I put out posts also, I say, who needs Netflix? There's so much content that I put out on my channel now, on this YouTube channel. Those evolution of a mediator and all. There's so much to watch there.
Oh yeah.
I'm creating content. I
absolutely.
decided I'm going to create content instead of watching it. You can't be. I've decided that I'm going to create content instead of watching it. Create the
Nice.
content.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. There is so much information nowadays. When I think about growing up in the 70s, we didn't have the internet and we didn't have smartphones, and there's so much information coming at us. It's hard to choose what to spend our time watching.
It can be overwhelming, and I think that it is so very easy to fall in to the easiest thing after a long day, sitting in front of what my parents used to call the boob tube, the television.
No, but we were discussing aging.
It really is I will make a plug for independent movie makers and those people who are writing incredible scripts and producing really good programming that uplifts us as human beings. It is really the golden age of television. There are just so many wonderful stories being told because of the ability to stream that otherwise wouldn't be told. My background prior to becoming a lawyer, I did spend 7 years with the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, the Cinematographers Guild, and then later on with UCF Film. And so film and TV are just kind of part of me. I love storytelling and the art of storytelling, and so if you're watching the right things, it can be very uplifting.
Yeah, yeah. But AJ, we were discussing before you came in about how this programming that you watch actually also maybe has some negative aspects also to it, because society is programmed in a certain way, which is a bit of an issue also. So we were just having a conversation on that.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think that's one of the reasons we don't watch the news very often.
Exactly.
And we choose the news channel that broadcasts primarily positive things.
Yeah, that's important. That's very important. This is exactly where the conversation started from there. I was telling her, she was asking about what's happening in India. I said, look, I don't watch the news. It might be living a life with blinders on, but I prefer it that way because there's so much negativity which is roaming around, and how much of it is, it might be true also. A lot of things are true, but the fact is that there is so much negativity which it can just seep in somewhere. It can actually start affecting the way you look at things. So I think, so I decided create my little world, my own positive little world around the world. I'm happier doing that.
You know, I like to post on social media positive quotes first thing in the morning. And one of the recent ones I posted was something like, life is like a cup of tea. You can make it however you want it.
Yeah.
And so I love decisions like that. You know, I'm going to decide not to allow the negativity in the world to infect me or infiltrate my space. I want to live in a more positive space, and I can make decisions and choices that will support a positive space. So I love that.
Because look, I mean, a country like ours, 1.3 billion people, definitely a lot of positive things must be happening. And some good things will be happening. Where are they reported? I don't see it happening anywhere. I'm sure there are good people there doing very good things. Although there is one particular website which started off called the Better India. At least they're putting out positive stories.
Oh, good.
So
That's
at least
great.
you need that. I think maybe AJ, you should have something like that happening in the US. Only positive stories, nothing else.
It's called the Good News Network. We have one called if you look at, I think if you Google Good News Network, you would be able to find it.
Very nice. Okay, so
and we also have a wonderful group of young, I call them young kids because they're young enough to be our kids, but that have this station called Newsy, and they deliver the news in a very metered, undramatic way. And so, you know, if you do need to, you know, dip your toe in and find out what's happening, it's not the sensationalized news that you find on bigger news outlets. Yeah.
Because the kind of amount of time that you spend watching it, and then like I said, if that we're picking up negativity from it, because there are vested interests putting out information for you, which I'm saying, even look, I was saying about movies also, there are vested interests. I was talking to her about the alcohol aspect of it, that how alcohol is pushed into society, and it's not been happening today. It's been happening from, like I said, from black and white movies. I see those things, that messaging, that celebrations have to happen this way. Whenever you sit, someone walks into your house, you throw a beer at him, and what you saw there. I mean, this is it's influence your society. Our kids watch the same thing. They go through the same thing. So I think that programming dangerous. I would think it's dangerous. I'm talking about alcohol. So much more would have been programmed. We don't know what all it has been. It is a
You know,
little worrying.
speaking of alcohol and its influence, did you happen to share with him the story from law school?
I didn't, but I shared with Vikram the story about last week when we watched the murder mystery with the Chardonnay.
Oh.
And then we went to the Target and I was like, I gotta find that Chardonnay. I gotta find something similar. But yeah, in law school,
yeah. So both Kiki and I were sensitive to the fact that the legal industry has a real problem with alcoholism and substance abuse. And while we were in law school, we noticed that pretty much every group function heavily advertised that there would be alcohol. And so we thought, why don't we try and change that? And so we brought it to the person's attention, who was the dean, and said, we think we're sending the wrong message. Can we have group meetings and functions without the alcohol? And the response was
he thought it was a great idea.
Yes, he did. But the person in charge of the groups, her response was, but if we don't offer alcohol, nobody will come. Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, what a shame that is.
Exactly.
Something else needs to change.
Yeah,
absolutely. This is where the problem is. And this is the problem that I faced while growing up. I did not drink alcohol, so I was never part of those people going out because they never wanted a sober person around. People who drink alcohol don't like sober people.
That's true.
Except if they need a driver.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe then. But otherwise, they don't want you seeing them in that condition and saying what they say in that condition. So that was a big problem. And without that, there was no concept of a party. There was no concept of a party without alcohol. That's the way. Like, is it programming? How it works? I don't know. And that's the way it is. So this is just one thing that we know about. We don't know what else has been put into our system. What all we don't even know that there is another way. There is another way to look at life. We don't even know. And so that's
so true about 50s films. You know, the old black and white films. It seemed like everybody had a bar.
Everybody's smoking.
Exactly.
And had a
exactly.
Drink.
Yes. Exactly. I mean, every point of time something happens, one cigarette comes out. You cannot think without a cigarette. You just have to have it.
You know, taking care of the kids.
You
got your martini and your cigarette. It is interesting. I think that there are certain sensitivities, and it is interesting being here in the South. Florida has a lot of different people from all over the world. And, you know, in the United States, we've got microcultures, but we have a lot of people who come from traditionally Southern faiths of Christian orientation that eschew alcohol. Alcohol's a no-no for them. And so I will say that there are sometimes within certain groups sensitivities toward people who might be recovering alcoholics, people who don't drink for religious purposes, or people who just don't want to have, you know, they don't want to get buzzed and, you know, at a social engagement. And so, you know, I've noticed that there's like a growing trend to have like what they call the mocktail, Vikram. Do you have mocktails in India?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's the little mocktail. So it's like, you know, maybe a little seltzer with, you know, something fun. So I think the tide is changing a bit.
That's good.
Yeah.
But I've actually been waiting for a report, some news channel or someone comes out with a report and actually does one of those, gets into and finds out from these directors and producers how these alcohol companies have been placing this for years. And the amount, according to me, all of them must be paying these people. For every movie that is made, definitely money must be going to them to place it at the right place, in the right way. I think that must have been happening for years. We have to have someone doing this, an investigative journalist, to actually get down and get some information on this. How much gets paid? Because it must be huge amounts.
Amounts. Like product placement's huge in film and TV. So I think there's a charming and wonderful series that we're watching right now called Jane the Virgin, and it's supposed to be kind of like a Spanish telenovela. But the telenovela culture is very much part of it. And they do overt product placement. And so, you know, they're in Target and there's a big, you know, Target logo. And, you know, so it is kind of tongue in cheek the way they do it, but definitely product placement is something that it's like, you know.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking that years back, product placement is one thing that you can identify the product as a brand. Here, the whole alcohol industry got together. I said, doesn't
Oh,
matter. We don't want to promote the brand. We just want to push alcohol as a concept. And all of
oh,
them, this is the must have worked together. Must be interesting. I really actually want to find out how much goes to, I mean, how much money is paid for these. Every movie.
That
wow.
would be interesting. I remember as a child watching TV and seeing cigarette ads,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and at some point those were banned and
Mhm.
they weren't on the air anymore. And I'm wondering if we're ever going to get to that place with alcohol. I suspect probably not, but wouldn't that be interesting if it was no longer broadcast?
But here,
I have
yeah.
never thought about that to the isn't there a ban on alcohol advertising during certain hours of programming?
I'm sure there probably
Like
is.
I'm
Look,
I don't think that they're having a whiskey ad during like a Nickelodeon
Yeah,
show.
probably
no, I'll
not.
tell you what happened
It
here.
is.
Here it's actually banned here. Alcohol advertising is banned. So what they did was what we call surrogate advertising. So they created a mineral water brand of the same name. So they're giving out that ad. The brand still goes out. So I mean, okay, it says mineral water, but they don't say it's mineral water. The bottle comes out. That he's selling soda, club soda. So the soda comes out, and obviously the brand still goes out. So people find their way around it.
Yeah.
These are
Wow.
That's interesting. Yeah, it seems like I think it's been the long history of humans for the billions of years that we've been around. We're always trying to find ways to take the edge off,
yeah,
take the
exactly.
edge off of life. And the U.S. has, we have legalized marijuana in a lot of states now. In Florida, we've got marijuana legalized for medical use, and we also have I don't know if you have CBD oil there in India, but a lot of people have been helped very much by the properties of that. But yeah, it's just like this human predilection
Mm.
Because
to
here,
find something to help take the edge
yeah.
off.
No, here, look, here it's been smoked for years. I mean, obviously we have people. I mean, it's spoken about in our the religious concept. Also, we have a particular god who smokes stuff. So we've had that part of Hindu culture as such, and we've actually had people. This, I mean, we call it. There's a name. It comes from the plant, so from the marijuana plant. Something called bhang. They have that. So that was sold to people. They had these little, of course, government controlled stores which were selling those on a rationed basis. So we've had that around. Okay, now they don't talk about legalizing it right now because I think maybe because in general our constitution talks about that at some stage prohibition should be there, alcohol should be banned. It's what we call the directive principles of state policy. It's not compulsory for the state to do it, but it is still there. So in that kind of situation, to say let's make marijuana legal, I think that would be a bit too much for them. They won't be able to do it. but but it's there. It's part of society. It's out there. So a lot of people come to India because there's so much available.
Mm.
There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
okay, then you just met in law school, and then you get married after just after law school. Is that how it
We
happened?
During.
got married during law school because
Wow.
it it was so funny. It was right after our two. We have 3 years of law school, and it was our what they call 2L year, and we were working in the divorce clinic that summer, and I said, AJ, I would really like to graduate with. I took his name. So I'd like to graduate with your name. And if we're planning on, continuing our education, it's going to be too far out. So I planned the wedding while I was working in the divorce clinic
Very smart.
and helping people get divorced. And it was lovely. It was small, and it was right here in our little town. And it was just so fun. It was like the best day ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we did that. And then we finished up our third year of law school. And then we got into the Master of Laws program at Pepperdine, Strauss Institute. And then we packed everything into 2 cars and drove across the country to California.
There's a
Wow.
funny story about our application to Strauss at Pepperdine. We both had to write application essays, and we each put in our essay that we're married, and if you only accept one of us, neither of us is going. So you have to accept both of us. We're a package.
I can't believe we did this. I can't believe we did that to like Strauss. And we were known. We were known from you're the couple.
But did you ever go and check with them that, look, we were only going to take one, but because of the package, we've taken both of you? Did you ever check that out?
I don't think they would have done it. Their standards were so high for admission. I think that there were only 10 people admitted into that cohort. So had we not had the academic chops and the letters of recommendation, I don't believe they would have done it. I know they wouldn't have.
I'm sure, obviously.
But
but how was Pepperdine? What was the experience?
Oh my gosh! So the campus is amazing.
Do you want to tell Vikram the story about us about what we were planning on moving, like how we packed everything up?
Oh, sure. So while we were still in Florida, we were trying to figure out what our living situation was going to be like in Malibu. And we were looking at different options. And I think a studio apartment with a Murphy bed,
which is folds out from the wall,
was going to be about $1,700 or $1,800 a month. And we had applied for married housing on campus, but they said that they were full.
We were waitlisted.
We were waitlisted, so they didn't have a place for us. So we're packing everything up in our apartment here in Florida,
putting it into storage.
Right, getting ready to leave, and I think we were down to a few miscellaneous items, and
it was a lamp and a vacuum cleaner.
There you go. And we got a call from Pepperdine, and they said, "We have a spot for you in married housing."
And we're like, okay, well, we have nothing now. It is all packed away. Can you give us furniture?
Right.
And so they gave us like library furniture, like the really uncomfortable couches and stuff. But we were very, very grateful. So we got to live on the 3rd floor of married housing right across from the School of Law.
We had 2 plates, 2 forks, 2 spoons, 2 knives.
That was it.
And some of our books, our computers.
Clothes.
I brought 1 guitar.
I think we had clothes. And
we had a blow-up bed.
We had a blow-up bed. We slept on a blow-up bed for like 10 months. And on the floor.
What does that do to your back and all? Is it?
You know what? I'm going to tell you, the blow-up bed technology has come a long way. It was a Sealy blow-up bed, and it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was really okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of that campus, but it is breathtaking. I mean, we were on top of one of the hills overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And then when we looked behind us, it was the Santa Monica mountain range. Wow. And we were very, very busy. The first semester we had 7 classes. In the second semester we had 5 because I couldn't do 7 again, or I thought I'd lose my mind. But we made a vow to ourselves to get out every day and walk that campus. And so that whole area just kind of became part of us, not to mention the fact that the faculty and the staff and the educational experience there was just amazing. It changed my life.
And when we would walk around the campus, occasionally we would see deer, because the deer would come down out of the Santa Monica mountains and graze on the campus. And so that was nice. I think our environment and the people really made up for the uncomfortable furniture and the fact that we didn't have much with us.
Yeah. It was bare bones living, but it was good. I mean, I didn't care.
And it overlooks the Pacific Ocean, and so we got to see the ocean every day. And when the sun was out, there would be sparkles off the water, and we used to call them
diamonds.
Right,
our diamonds
on the ocean. And so it was a wonderful experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No, yeah. And I know Eric Van Giekel, who is part of your group, Vikram. He was one of our professors. Yes. In our mediation clinic. And so Eric Eric was our professor who would come observe us mediating when we would mediate in this Los Angeles County court system, and got to spend some good time with him. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just so incredibly memorable. And I just feel so very blessed that we had loans, of course, student loans to be able to do it. But I just wouldn't trade it for the world.
But then after that, you still wanted to come back to Florida. You didn't want to stay in California.
So that's an interesting story. We were there at Pepperdine in our apartment with our uncomfortable furniture, and we were talking about, so after this, where do we want to live? Where do we want to settle? Where do we want to
do Georgia?
Right, begin careers. And we had taken a trip during law school to Oregon and to the state of Washington. And we thought about moving to Georgia because we really like the Atlanta, Georgia area. And what it came down to was family. Kiki's family was here in Florida. Her mom, her dad, her sister, her brother-in-law, her nieces and nephews. And I said, you know what? Family is incredibly important. So let's go back to Florida. So it was family that brought us back to Florida.
It was family. I mean, California is great. I prefer Northern California over Southern California just for the vibe. And it's incredibly expensive to live in California, incredibly expensive. And we knew that we were going to have to take the bar somewhere. And when you prep for the bar here in the States, it's a full-time job, usually about 50 hours a week. And knew we weren't going to be able to work. And I said, well, let's go live with mom and dad, and we can take the bar there. And, you know, in hindsight, I got 2 years with my dad that I wouldn't have had, because he passed away a year after he retired from Disney. And so 2 precious years that we wouldn't have had we been living out of state.
Right.
So, yeah.
But what about AJ? What about your family? Where were they?
So my mom passed away from a car accident in 1997. And so all I had out there in Northern California was my dad. And when he found out I was going to be going to Florida for law school, he said, well, I'm not going to stay in California. I'm going to sell my house and move back to where I grew up, which was Oklahoma. And so within a year of me leaving California for Florida, he sold his house and relocated out to the Tulsa, Oklahoma area.
It's in the middle. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's where he is now. And he's since remarried. And all of my extended family are kind of all over the place. Ohio and Maryland, and some in
California,
and kind of all over. Yeah.
Okay. But then you people end up meeting each other. There is a family get together or something.
Oh gosh.
Well, I think. Oh, my parents met AJ's dad when we were. Oh, so this was funny. My parents flew out to Malibu to help us drive back from California. Funny story. We thought AJ's car was going to be able to tow my car all the way out to California. And then when we were in the storage unit place, we discovered that his hitch had a key that he didn't have. So we ended up having to drive separate cars on our first anniversary. It was our first wedding anniversary. So we're in separate cars driving west. We were on walkie-talkies talking to each other. And so we didn't want to have to drive back alone in the cars again. So my parents flew out to California and drove back with us. And so the way back, we stopped in Oklahoma, and that's when they met AJ's dad.
Yeah.
Was that right?
And you and I went out there for my dad's wedding.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, Oklahoma is not my favorite place. You cannot let your freak flag fly if you are in Oklahoma. It's a traditionally conservative place. And if you haven't figured out by now, I am not a conservative person.
No, but Kiki, AJ, be AJ if he was brought up in Oklahoma?
No,
Ooh, probably not.
no, not at all. He was born in Hawaii and grew up largely in Northern California. Yeah.
I love the ocean. I
Yeah.
love the water. And Oklahoma, being in the middle of the United States, is just too what we call landlocked. No reasonable access to the ocean. And so I think the ocean has been a big part of my life. I remember when I was in high school, it seemed like I was always going to the beach. The beach was, 30 to 45 minutes away from where I lived. And like Kiki said, I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, at an army hospital that's right on the side of a cliff overlooking the ocean. And so the ocean's really important to me.
And yeah, I don't think the hairband would have happened. I do not think
In Oklahoma?
In Oklahoma.
Maybe.
AJ was in what we call, Vikram, do you know the hair, like
Yes,
the guys
yes.
with the long, AJ was
Headbanging
in
and all that.
an 80s, early 90s hairband in San Francisco.
I have to see those
So-
pictures. Those pictures we
Oh,
have
yeah.
to see.
I think they're on my Facebook page.
I have to find it. I'll have to find it. I'll take the link from. Okay, so basically, interesting. Those were interesting times. That means the
Oh, yeah.
hair band and all that. Everything you've done it all, AJ. You've done it all.
Yeah, I've done a lot. Yeah. All good.
Good fun. Yeah, that's what I said. Look, all that makes you what you are.
That's right.
And if the end product is what Kiki likes, then everything was worth it. That's all that matters.
Yep.
And, I think we continue to evolve. I mean, it's just so wonderful being on this trip
Yeah. It
together.
really is a journey.
Yeah. 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 Learning and growing and
But how many years has it been together now? How many years has it been?
It's been coming up on 13, right?
that we've been married. We've been together 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We moved in together. Actually it was neat. It was quick. We just knew.
Yeah.
We met in 2006 initially when I referred to him as Smart Arthur.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking, that maybe that was a good decision that you did while in college. You got married, because once you get out, then obviously you move into different areas of life and things. Maybe getting back, maybe it would have taken another 14 years to get back, and then we should have done this at that time. Maybe so. All that was, maybe everything happened for the best.
I think I learned a very valuable life lesson with that experience. And so my dad was very conservative, and I had kind of a conservative mind, having gone through business school. And I was the one who wanted to wait. Let's take our time, let's plan. And Kiki said, no, let's just do it now. There's no time like the present. And so I really surrendered, and I just said, okay, let's make this happen. And the life lesson I learned was that sometimes you just have to surrender and let it happen, rather than, holding back and trying to plan and analyze and waiting for the perfect time, because the perfect time is never going to come.
Never. Yeah.
Wow.
But I think the life lesson, AJ, is that listen to Kiki. That is the life lesson.
That's another one. Yeah.
And I think that we learn so much from each other. Yeah. I mean, it is a real quid pro quo kind of situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really did. I nailed it with the wedding.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So
that,
funny.
I
I built a cupcake tree. Cupcakes were in for wedding cake. And so that it was hilarious. It was a huge cupcake tree. In fact, I think that the majority of photographs that we received from people after the wedding were of the cupcake tree.
We have to see those. Okay, I should have told you to take out
Some
pictures.
photos of the cupcake tree. There were like color coded things for what flavor they were, and
Yeah.
it was really fun.
It was great.
Yeah.
But the wedding anniversary is coming up.
It is. Yeah. In August.
August.
Okay.
It's like the hottest time of year here. Who gets married here in August? We do.
That's another funny story. We were down here, and we were taking a walk, and we were walking by the area where we eventually got married, and there was a wedding going on.
And it was in August.
It was in August, and Kiki says, gosh, what fool bride gets married in August in Florida?
And then the next year, August 2nd.
Never judge anyone. You're going to be
Right,
part of it.
right,
You never know
right.
when you're going to be on that boat.
Hey, look, you're going to sweat if there are outdoor pictures, but that's okay. You know, that's,
Yeah.
it's all part of it. All
Exactly.
part
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. So I think that, but what happens normally? Wedding anniversaries are spent at home, or what is a holiday planned? How does it work?
So our wedding anniversaries, I think, primarily have been fairly close, right? In other words,
Oh,
we
yeah.
celebrate privately. We don't have a big party or a
Nah.
big event. If we can take some kind of a vacation, like a cruise or a trip somewhere to celebrate our anniversary together, we'll do that.
We'll do that. Yeah. Some years, like, of course, last year we couldn't do anything. And this is going to sound like very Hallmark Channel, but I really feel like every day I'm like the luckiest person in the world.
Wow.
And you know, it's like he gives so much to the relationship, and I just feel, you know, I don't feel like, oh, I need to be pampered, or, oh, I don't need anything. I don't need fancy jewelry. I don't need anything for him for me to know. And so, yeah, it's going to be good to get away because it's been a long time since we've been away, but I don't feel like I need it.
Yep.
That's one of the, I think, most special things I've ever experienced in a relationship is waking up every morning and feeling so blessed that I'm with Kiki and Kiki's in my life, and going to sleep every night next to her, feeling so blessed that we're together. It's almost like Kiki said, it's like every day is a blessing. And so when Valentine's Day comes around, or some of those other days, it's really not a big deal for us because every day is a celebration.
We do nice things for each other every day.
Yeah. No, I think the point is, as I see it, look, Kiki is a wonderful person, and the fact that she's found you, at least you value her, and that is what was needed for her. Maybe I'm sure, like, if she hasn't spoken about her other relationships, but definitely, I mean, if you don't find someone who values you, I think that you need that also. You can be a wonderful person, but for her also, I think that was important, which she's found. I think that's ideal. I think that doesn't get better.
Yeah. And that was another important life lesson for me through my failed relationship, and then getting together with Kiki, was it's so critically important for people to accept others just as they are, without some kind of condition like, oh, I'll be happy if they just change this, or if they just didn't do that. I think true happiness and satisfaction comes from loving somebody else just as they are.
Yeah. Perfect. Loving them through it, because we've been through some very stressful times together. I mean, talk about, like, divorces happen in law school, and we got together in law school. And so we were in a very intense situation during law school, and then the move out West. And then that program was intense and beautiful at the same time. And then prepping for the bar together, and then running a business together. And, you know, there were times when, you know, I had my ugly face, my ugly cry face happening. And I was, you know, I didn't like being a lawyer. So that was hard. And loving each other unconditionally through it, and just knowing that person is not going to, like, throw a wall up if you don't show up exactly how they want you to be. It's just like the best, it's the greatest gift in the world. And I don't know how I got so lucky.
Me either.
I think the fact that you got married at that stage and grew up together and you saw so much together, I think that also, I think, bonds you together much more, gets you so much closer, because otherwise you've gone through life, set yourself up in a lot of, in your profession and everything, and then if you get married, it's a different person you're getting married to. And here you've been on the journey together. I think that makes a lot of difference. I think would have definitely, I think. But AJ, but you coming to Florida and living with her family, that must have been good for you, having a family to come.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. I was ready for a change. I had been to Florida before, really liked it. Actually tried to relocate out here for a job, and it just didn't happen. And so when I got the scholarship offer to come to Florida for law school, I thought, wow, that's fantastic. And then leaving Pepperdine and coming here to Florida to live with Kiki and her mom and dad, just what a blessing that was. Like Kiki said earlier, I feel so blessed to have the time that I got to spend with her dad before he transitioned. That time is just, I can't put a dollar value on it. Time is so precious. It's something we can never get back. Money can be replaced. It can be
Absolutely.
re-earned. Stuff, homes, cars, whatever, all that stuff can be replaced, but time cannot.
Oh, yeah,
And
the
so,
other important part is that now, if you and Kiki will talk about a father, at least you can relate to that, because you can relate to the person. Otherwise, if you had not met him and you not spent time with him, you wouldn't be able to relate to a lot of things she'll talk about him. So that is
that's
also
right.
important. So that's also important. I think that's been good for you. I'm sure it's very good. Being part of a family in any case, I think it's a good thing. So
Oh yeah, yeah. The love from family and the support and being able to celebrate, milestones and birthdays and holidays together, pre-pandemic, obviously,
Yeah.
it's just it's so special. The memories are just precious.
Yeah. And I think we're here with my mom now, and it's just the three of us. But we're tight. We're kind of like the Three Musketeers. And it's just been, I remember before my dad had to go in for that heart surgery that eventually led to his death. He said, you've got to take care of your mom. And he sat with both of us, and he said, she's the thing that she's who I'm most concerned about. And she's a very capable person. She's in incredible health, but the fact that we're here with her, and that talk about quid pro quo, we help her, she helps us. It's been a really wonderful thing to be able to experience. Is it easy all the time? Of course not. Living with families, it's always, there's always going to be
exactly, yeah.
something bumps in the road, but
Look, at the end of the day, at least you know that everyone comes from good intention. So
Mhm.
you can take care of a lot of things that you can. I mean, you don't have to get so serious about a lot of aspects of relationships, because that is, I think that's the thing with family. At least you know that, okay, this is someone who cares about you, whatever they are going through, whatever they're saying. There's something good in it. Let's look at the good in it. I think
yeah,
that.
Yep.
yeah.
But tell me, how far are you from the ocean now?
Too far.
Too far. Okay. Well, the traffic here is bad, but
Never say that to an Indian, okay?
each coast. See, if you went due west from where we are right now, there is no beach. It's all kind of swamp. And so we're really relegated to going southwest. And so if we needed to go like to one of our favorite beaches, Bradenton Beach, it's about 2 hours, and then to the east coast, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. So
Still not so bad. It's not so bad. It's
it's
okay.
not terrible. It's not terrible. Yeah, we haven't been in a long time. I actually haven't seen the ocean in 2 years.
No, don't do
Um,
that. I think you should get out for that. It's a 2 hour
I
drive. It's
really
just a
should
2 hour
get out.
drive. Yeah. No, there's something about water. I mean, a water body, look at a water body, there's something about it,
Mhm.
which
We
obviously.
did get to the lake last week, and we saw a juvenile alligator out there. So he was striped. Yeah,
That
so
was fun.
that was fun.
Yeah.
But at one point, I think that was what made that big splash, really close to us. So when you walk on the docks here, when you're just kind of looking to make sure that nothing's sunning itself like a snake. We have snakes here that will chase, like the water moccasins are aggressive and they will go after you.
That's
It's
another
another
world
fun
altogether.
thing.
Yeah, it's another world altogether. It's like, but what about Disney World?
Oh,
Do people
Disney.
Oh,
end
that's a
up going
happy
there?
place.
They're going to change the name.
Do,
That's
talk about Disney, buddy.
that's a happy place.
do people
So
end up going there? You should go there some once in a while.
yeah, I went to Disneyland
Disneyland.
out in Anaheim, California when I was a child once or twice, and I think I went as an adult once. And then finding out that Kiki's dad worked for Disney for how many years?
30.
30 years. We're able to access the park. Not exactly anytime we want, but if the spirit moves us, we can say, hey, let's go out to Epcot, or let's go to the Magic Kingdom this weekend, and we can just hop in the car and go do it. And so that's amazing, just absolutely amazing.
My dad would take us into the park back before 9/11. You were much more freer to move about on property, and his office was on Main Street, USA, in the Magic Kingdom, and it was right above guest services. And so he would drive his car onto the back property, and I would be with him, and then we'd walk up into his office, and then he would just release my sister and I into the park. He'd just go, okay, just walk down the stairs into guest services, and then go, and we'll meet for lunch. And so, I mean, does it get more idyllic than that?
So Kiki, basically that means that you lived in an ideal world, the happy world. So definitely would have made a difference in your life and the way you look at the world also.
Yeah.
So the positivity around you, everyone's happy,
Disney has been such a bright spot in our experience here. We owe a lot to that company, and it does change the way that you think about things, and forever in their debt. And when we're all finally over this pandemic, we'll go back. Right now you have to wear masks in the park, and right now it's very, very hot and humid here, so I don't think I could do that. But I do believe that they're releasing some restrictions on it. Fun fact, I think I know every single bathroom in every single park. I think if anybody came up to me and said, in any park, where's the nearest restroom, I would be able to direct them to it.
You have the map all mapped up in you. You're all mapped.
I really do. I do. It's just such a fun place. Have you ever been, Vikram? No. Well,
should be nice. But the interesting thing is that, look, the closest we'd have got is in Paris. We could have gone to Disney in Paris, near Paris. My daughter wasn't interested. But that was the funniest part. Okay, she wasn't very young at that time. I mean, she's quite old. But still, I thought maybe a kid always wants to go to Disneyland. But she didn't want to. I think the spending time in Paris was more what she wanted to do. So we did. I was more interested. If she said yes, I would have loved it.
That's a beautiful park. My dad helped open that one, and he and my mom, he was there for 2 months on Disney property in the campground, and my mom got to spend a month there. And it's a very special park with things that are very different from here. And I'm sorry that you didn't get to see it, but there are Disney parks all over the world. Yeah. And it really is I sound like I should be in publicity for Disney. It is indeed the happiest place on earth.
Exactly. I think, and that's the way it is. You have to create that little world for yourself, which is a happy place. You don't have to be part of everything that happens everywhere in the world. You can create your little world, whatever way it has to be. For me, one of these parks was in near Toronto. There was a Canada's Wonderland that we went to, so that was good enough for me. Compared to Disney World, it would be nothing. It's a little park, but for me as a kid, that was good enough. That was big enough for me. So
right.
I had that experience, and I was happy.
Right. I grew up going to a small amusement park in Western Pennsylvania that is had its start in the 19th century. And so it's a place called Kennywood. And that's the only amusement park that I really ever knew and loved. So, and it was a wonderland for me until I moved to Florida.
Exactly the conversation we were having earlier, that whatever that little world that you have, as long as you're happy with it, that's all that matters. We were having a conversation, AJ, about the fact that whatever some people have so much but not happy. Some people have a little bit, they're happy. So happiness comes, it's a state of mind which doesn't come from the material aspect of it. So we were having a discussion on that. So same thing with which park you go to, it doesn't matter. As long as you're happy when you go there, that's all that matters.
So true. Yeah. I think that many of us make a mistake, if you will, looking outside of ourselves for happiness, external things. And if more of us would turn inside of ourselves, I think more of us would find happiness. And the blessing is we get to take it wherever we go, wherever we are, that happiness is with us.
And
But
conversely, you can't get away from yourself. That trip is not going to make you, get away from yourself. This travels with you.
No, the important part about AJ was saying that he values every moment of his life, like with you and whatever. So I think you just value what's around you, happiness would come. But the moment you start even looking at, okay, there is this I could have done this, I would have whatever. I mean, everyone has different things they look at. I think then that the moment is gone. That moment is gone. So it's that moment. I think the way you take that moment is all that matters.
Yeah. Very
But this
true.
moment, we would have been happy in this moment if we had a guitar and Kiki singing. That would have been a good moment. That hasn't happened. Kiki, you can still sing for us.
Oh, I'm not in voice. I'm not in voice right now.
A singer can't say that. A singer can't say that. Singer is supposed to be in voice all the time.
Not in voice. It's allergy season. I haven't had my full cup of tea, and I don't want to distress any of your viewers.
No, it's okay.
Oh my
okay.
gosh. Well, I see we are at 10 a.m. here. This has just been like amazing.
But before you go, Kiki, before you go, what you have to tell me, what is the future like? What are you people looking at in terms of the future?
I'll let you go first.
Vikram, I'm not a planner. And having said that, my through line has always just been to be of service wherever I go and to help people feel better about life. I'm hoping that my speaking career will in the next year really expand. I plan to take some trips with my honey here and just keep being happy. I mean, I guess that's really boring. I'm not a 5-year plan person.
That's okay.
It's not. Yeah.
So that's a really interesting question for me, because I'm a firm believer in living in the present moment, because I can't change anything about the past. I really don't know what the future is going to hold. And so, like Kiki, I'm not a big planner. I've got some general ideas. I heard a very funny saying. I can't remember when or who I heard it from, but it was something like, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans for the future. And so I've had.
It's not God. AJ, it's not God. It make anyone laugh.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Right.
So seeing my mom die in a car accident in 1997, and having seen my parents plan over the years for their eventual retirement, really caused me to question long-term planning for the future, and has really caused me to live more in the now. But general ideas I have for the future are, I want as many days of life as possible to spend with Kiki and take our life journey together. And I want to make a significant positive impact on my local community, maybe the world community, by helping people solve problems through my job, through my career. I I don't think I have any firm ideas about retirement. I don't think I'll ever retire. I think I'd like to mediate and help solve people's problems as long as my mind is still good. And I always want to make sure I take time to smell the flowers, to look at the birds, hear the bees, and spend as much time with family as possible. So those are my thoughts for the future.
But I can actually relate to what you're saying, because my mother died in a car accident, and it's like that. I mean, you just seen of a person, and then you find out the person's gone. So then your whole perspective of life definitely changes. I mean, in terms of living in the moment, I think that aspect definitely changes.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. But the main thing is, both of you, the wonderful people that you are, you have to be out there in the world. The world has to see you, listen to you. So please don't do things only in that small community that you whatever. Think of reaching out. And today we have that opportunity. Everyone's online, everything. So please do things where you're out there. People have to know there are wonderful people in this world. All that
Oh,
negativity.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't
Hey,
need all
Thank you
that.
for that.
anybody else needs us.
Yeah.
We don't think small, we think big, and we love our sisters and brothers around the world.
But the only thing I'll tell you about Kiki, we didn't start with that. Why Kiki? Where does Kiki come from?
Oh, Kiki. It is my full name is Kristen Kathleen, and I never, even as a child, liked my name, Kristen, and would refuse. I just called myself Chris, and then my mother started calling me Kiki because of the KK, and so that's why I go by Kiki. And
That's become your identity now. That's the brand. Brand Kiki it is. Oh, so not bad. So anyway, it was wonderful to have both of you. It was really nice. I mean, and such positivity. It's beautiful to see that, and the love, the relationship. I think people really need to see this.
Thank you so much, Vikram.
It's been a pleasure to spend time with you this morning here in Florida, to get to meet you and talk with you.
And I'm really sorry you had to put a jacket on in the morning. It's okay.
It's all good.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks a lot. And definitely
Thank
we'll
you.
see each other. We're going to be seeing each other. This show might end right now, but we're going to be in touch. We'll
Yes,
definitely.
absolutely.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, and thanks for everybody for watching.
No, all right. See you then.